Morning, everyone. Welcome to today's Town Council meeting, Tuesday, June 3rd, 2025. Kim, if you'll please call roll.
Uh, Mayor, Mr. Webb will be joining us before roll call, please.
Yes, ma'am.
He's here.
Yes. Are you ready for my statement, Kim?
Yes, sir.
All right. I am in transit right now, traveling, and Mayor Anderson and the rest of the council, pursuant to the Code of Virginia, Chapter 37, Virginia Freedom of Information Act, Section 2.2-3708.34, in accordance with a resolution of the council endorsing an electronic meeting policy adopted on April 20th, 2020, I, Derek Webb, respectfully request to participate in the June 3rd, 2025 council meeting by electronic means. I will be physically located in Florida, and my request for remote attendance is due to a previously scheduled personal trip prior to the notice of this meeting. Sincerely, Derek Webb.
Roll call now, Mr. Anderson.
Kim,
Mr. Webb.
Here.
Ms. Quetch.
Here.
Ms. Pillion.
Here.
Vice Mayor Austin.
Present.
And Mayor Anderson.
Here. Now, Ms. Quitch, if you'll lead us in this Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now we have approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to make approval of the agenda for today?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
The motion was made by Vice Mayor Wayne Austin and second by Amanda Pillion. Kim, if you'll please call roll.
Mr. Webb.
Aye.
Ms. Quetch.
Aye.
Ms. Pillion.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Austin.
Aye.
And Mayor Anderson.
Aye. We have no one signed up for public comments, so that's going to lead us straight into the second reading of our ordinance. The ordinance is for the ordinance of the town council, or for the council of the town of Abingdon, proposing a budget, made appropriations to correct expenses and to fix tax rates upon real and personal property for the financial year beginning July the 1st, 2025 and ending June the 30th, 2026. Mike Cochran will provide that information.
Sure. Did you want to go through the whole thing, or how you want to do that?
I don't know if we need to go through the whole thing. Do we need to go through the whole thing? I don't think that we need to go through the whole thing. I just need someone to make a motion, if we don't need to read through the second reading, to make a motion to go ahead and put the ordinance into effect.
Mr. Mayor, let's let somebody hit the highlights of
Yes,
it
sir.
if we could.
Yes, sir.
Rather than go through it
Yes,
word
sir.
for word.
Yes, sir, Vice Mayor.
So, yeah, so this budget includes, it's the real estate tax rate at 19 cents, which is the reassessment equalization rate, which actually is a net reduction in our tax revenues. Instead of keeping pace with inflation, we actually reduced it, which helps out the residents and everybody. And I think that increase, it used to be 34,000, but we had some additional ads from the
It's
county.
about 42,000
Now.
reduction in tax levy, excuse me, on the real estate.
Yeah.
Is that due to nonprofits coming on?
That was, not exactly sure why. When we first had the discussion about the 19-cent equalization rate,
Yes.
we had a book total from the county, but when they actually sent the totals over, it was less than what we had originally been told.
Right.
Not sure exactly what was. Now, we will have some nonprofit movement, but that wasn't reflected in that book. It'll be done through abatements in the coming fiscal year.
Because this
That's
is
right.
actually the second time that the county assessment has been reduced, isn't it?
The first one was reduced because of the overall assessment.
Yes.
That was the number that we were using to
Yes.
come up with the equalization rate. But then when they actually sent over the complete book, it reduced it.
And then today, we're finding that there's another reduction. Am I correct? in-
Yeah. Yeah, and there's been appeals, like there was a whole lot of appeals that people appealed their values. And so our book was based on whatever they sent over, but if there's people that are in mid-process on their appeals, if they win their appeal, then we'll get an adjustment on that. But all in all, I mean, it's definitely a reduction across the board, not a
Yes, sir.
massive reduction, but still a reduction.
But from the first time, excuse me, the first time when we discussed the 19 cent rate, Mr. Austin?
Yes, sir.
Since then, the total reduction in tax levy is now about $42,000 total.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, the revenue assumptions, the lodging and meals tax remains the same or unchanged. And other tax rates, everything is the same. Sales use, meals and lodging. We did budget for a 5% increase, which is typical. And then it also includes the general fund balance usage, which is still at 203.
203.
Yeah, 203, 484, and that is really to the grant match that we're carrying forward. That is actually a little bit.
276 for
Yeah.
next year.
Yeah, 276 is from next year. So if it wasn't for paying for grants and whatnot, we would actually be ahead of the game as far as the finances go, as far as fund balance. On personnel, this includes a 2.9% COLA. There's a 10-year step for some of the police, not all, just the ones that it affects. That's roughly 18,005. Plus, when you benefits loaded, it's roughly 23,000. And it includes there's 70,000 in there for promotions and certifications, which grosses out to 86,635. For the second or third year now, we're at no health premium increases. Now, the one change that we do have that we really have very little control over. Last year, we had like 10 employees that didn't have health coverage at all. They just elected not to have it, whether they have military coverage or spousal coverage. And then you also have people who, when they get married, sometimes they bring on family coverage, and our cost difference between single and family coverage is quite significant. And so at any given time, you could have people's situation changes, or a single person leaves and you hire a married person. It changes it has a swing of a decent amount of money when you have a bunch of people. But just the 10 folks that don't have benefits, I mean, if they opted to have benefits tomorrow, you could have a $250,000 swing. So, we always have a little bit in there, but for actual benefits, no premium increases, which is amazing. This says no new full-time positions. There was a request for additional part-time firefighters so that we can actually have 2 firefighters in the station at all times. Will help out with fire response time. So that $71,000 has been added. We did back off the initial budget that was drawn up. Some of the departmental outlays have been reduced by $252,500. We reduced the non-VDOT paving projects, which at the 6-month mark we can take a look at differently, but that was $350,000. And then capital improvements, basically what we're doing right now with capital improvements is a lot of the grants we apply for are all things that would cost us money from a capital improvement side if we had to go in and fix the retirement home with our own money. So what we're doing is trying to use grants to address those things that would otherwise be capital improvements driven projects for us. And so the grants right now is $276,638 in match, but that's roughly a $1.8 million is what we get for that $276,000. And those are quite a few projects around town. And then this also includes the $253,950 between the Barter, the William King, and the Arts Commission. But the budget all in all is it's a lean budget. But the main thing is if you've seen how our revenues are going, we're in pretty good shape as far as those go. Now at the 6-month mark, if we see that revenues are doing well and there are some things that we need, then we can always come back and ask for a budget adjustment at the 6-month mark or the 8-month mark. Like with the paving projects, they right around November they cut off asphalt, but they start back in the spring. So if we need money in the spring and the money's there, then we'll come back at that because we have an awful lot of road projects going on in town, and our goal eventually is to repave the roads that are non-urban maintenance roads, but to repave them once the sewer work is done. And as I explained previously, when they do the sewer work, those funds only allow the roads to be repaired, not repaved. So it's kind of, one of those things, but you guys get the phone calls when people say it's rough, and no one likes rough roads.
Yeah.
Except for people who don't like speeders.
Yeah.
They're natural speed humps. But other than that, I mean, the budget's, I think it's a good budget as far as I can tell. I mean,
Mr. Cochran,
Yes, sir.
if it comes time where we can do this additional paving,
Mhm.
can we take the amount that would be allocated for repair and add to it and actually repave that road? Is that allowed?
Probably, but it all depends on the timeline, because they're typically gonna go in and repair as they're doing the work, or as the work is finished. But if
Right.
we know we're doing that, I'll check with Public Works, so that would make sense. If you could get by with gravel for a couple months and then come back and hit it with pave, I'll check on that. That
Be
should,
able to do the entire road that way?
And I
yeah,
want to go on the record and say again, I think I said this last time, but if we have extra money in the general fund above and beyond what we're required to hold on to, I personally would vote, if the vote came up, to go ahead and do it all at one time and use the money that's in the general fund to maintain our roads, because I think that's what it's for,
okay.
rather than do a patch.
Right, right.
Yeah. I mean, if we have excess and it's sitting there,
Absolutely.
or we have interest that we have drawn, it makes more sense to me just to go ahead and do it right the first time instead of patch it and then have to go back and do it again.
Yeah, no, that
So, I
makes-
mean, you can bring that to us, I suppose, when the time is
Sure.
appropriate.
Yeah, because they're doing the projects right now, like the Valley and all, but Valley's a regular road. There's some of our off streets off of White's Mill and all some of those roads.
So is Valley it's included in the VDOT?
Yeah,
Okay.
there's no rhyme or reason that I can discern as to what makes an urban maintenance road and a non-urban maintenance road, but the ones that aren't are the ones that we would have to go in, like Troopers Alley is not an urban maintenance road, and Plum Alley's not an urban maintenance road. So we would have to fund those out of pocket, but, Plum Alley's in good shape, and Troopers is, got a lot of natural speed humps built into it.
Can we make application and ask that those be accepted into the state system?
Yes, but I don't know the process. I'll have to check, because our folks are really good about getting that stuff added. We've added miles to it, but there's still some miles that aren't in there. I can find out the process, but I know there's criteria.
That would be helpful to us in terms
Oh,
of
absolutely,
maintenance.
absolutely, yeah, because our urban maintenance funding goes up pretty much every year. They adjust the rate.
Yeah, we haven't gotten the adjustment yet for next year, but over the last several years, it's gone up.
Right.
Yeah, because they've added miles, and they also increased their reimbursement rate. But we use that for, like the plowing and the paving and the maintenance and everything we do on the roads. It's a good bit.
That also includes some sidewalks as well.
Correct, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and so, anyway, oh, good.
Any questions on the general fund budget at this point? Again, to reiterate on the sewer fund, as we discussed before, the sewer rate, or the sewer budget does include a rate increase of 7%. This is in line with recommendations that have been made by Davenport, our financial advisors, in order to maintain adequate debt service coverage with the substantial projects that we already have on the list. The budget does include those 4 projects, which is the SESS collection phase 1 and phase 2, the Southview pump station and force main work, and also some upgrades at the actual treatment facility at Wolf Creek. We already have funding lined up for phase 1, which is through BRA and DEQ grants. The other 3 will be a combination of the BRA loan and DEQ grants. We just got word that the treatment facility has no DEQ grant. But the budget, I had anticipated, not knowing whether it was going to be a grant or not, I built into the budget anticipation that we wouldn't get a grant, so no modification is needed for next year's budget for any potential debt service for that. We'll be coming to the council over time as these projects get closer, because we'll have to do an issuance of bond, and we'll seek bond counsel as we did last November for phase 1. But all of those are built into the budget with the associated debt service depending on when those projects are completed. That being said, this budget, with those assumptions built in, would add about $423,000 to the sewer fund reserve account, which is necessary for us to, number one, maintain our bond rating as well as maintain our future debt service coverage. So the big issue right now, honestly, with the sewer fund, with all of these projects, is just monitoring and maintaining adequate cash flow. We do have money in the bank in the savings account, and BRA and DEQ are very good about reimbursing us for the expenses associated with the projects. They can turn it around pretty quickly, but we have to pay it up front. So we may get a $500,000 bill from our vendors on these projects, and then we submit that to BRA and DEQ, and then they'll reimburse us. So we monitor that cash flow very, very carefully. The good news is that because we have such a robust general fund balance, if we needed to transfer from the general fund to the sewer fund just for a couple of weeks, we could do that. Don't want to have a due to, due from at the end of the year, but we do have adequate cash if that were to occur. I don't see that happening because, again, we have adequate funds in the sewer fund reserve account as well.
Yeah, and I think that 7% is roughly $2 a month.
Yeah, about
I think it
$250
was, that's
depending
what
on
we
the-
said.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
base
so-
rate.
Yeah.
Now, the base rate went up as well as the excess usage, the per thousand, but it's a modest increase for the amount of projects that we have on the drawing, not on the drawing board, they're already in the pipeline, in the sewer pipeline as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. But anyway, they're massive projects. They're just incredibly expensive, but so they're half funded so far, which is good, and we can't do the rest until we get these done just because of timing and debt load and all that. So.
I also totaled the sewer payroll. I asked that question before, but I totaled it
Oh.
up, and it's 310,000 that we allocate for employees' work here
Right,
for the enterprise fund.
right, and it's not duplicated, it's taken
Right.
out of the general fund and allocated to the.
But it's not in the payroll numbers that we receive on personnel. It's separate.
On the general fund,
On
that's
the-
correct. It's taken
Yes,
out of it.
Yeah, no, because everybody has different job roles, and the ones, they allocate it based on the type of workload that they're doing and what they're doing for like, we have person,
One person is
yeah,
full.
and finance,
Sewer,
who yeah, because she handles,
All
handles,
sewer billing.
yeah, Irma handles all the billing and all that, so. But, anyway, any questions, or
And, you have any questions?
you good? On the roads, I'll find the answer to that. I mean, we don't need, if you wanted to go that route, we could put, say 200 in there now, and then add the 150 later if we determine that we need the extra 150. I think their goal is to go ahead and repave those as soon as they can. So as that work is done, because I don't think we'll get, it's like, I don't know that you could use all 350 in the next 6 months, but the 200 may work. I can find out from them, but if you want to add that as into
And I mean, if we need to revisit this in January, then that's fine. I
Okay.
just don't want our crews to go and start a project that
Yeah.
they're not able to finish because we haven't appropriated enough money. I don't want us to go into winter months with patched roads when we could have paved roads when the weather is bad. Because, I think that just opens us up to problems. And I think that's one of the most important things that we do. So, if we have excess money in the general fund, then I think we should go ahead and appropriate it to do the roads. But, everybody else may not feel the same way I do, but I think that's important.
No, it's
I
certainly
think that
doable.
that's
Yeah, I'm not
That's a
sure
good point.
which non-urban maintenance roads are gonna be impacted, with these projects.
Yeah, I don't know.
You all
Valley
seem to
and
have
all.
some concern about that, though, when we talked about the budget before. So that's,
Oh.
I've given some thought.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely. I'm just saying, like, right now, the biggest one is on Valley Street. That'll be covered with urban maintenance. I'm not sure as far as their construction schedule, which non-urban maintenance roads are gonna be impacted, whether or not it's gonna be in the next 6 months or in the latter part of the year.
So that may just be a bridge that we need to cross when we come to it.
Right, right.
Yeah, it'd be easier to build it into the budget, because that's how they
Yeah.
normally would do it. And if we don't need it, we don't use it. I mean, that's really how that would be. I think your actual street, I'm not sure when it's due for sewer work, but your street is a non-urban maintenance road, I'm pretty sure.
No, it's urban maintenance.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Oh,
I was
wow.
surprised, yeah.
Yeah, so there's no rhyme or reason as to what makes it an urban maintenance road. I'll find out, because I'd love to add more. I know there's criteria, though, so. With that said, I mean, we can add 200 to it, to the urban maintenance, to the non-urban maintenance account, and then use it if we need it or not need it. Or, you know what I'm saying, we can add it, if you wanted, if someone wanted to pass a motion to that effect, if not, we
Is that
can.
appropriate for you all, or do you want to just leave it
Or do you
like
want to
that?
cross the bridge when we
Want to
come to
cross
it?
the bridge?
I
when
think we ought to cross the bridge when we get to it.
Let's just
Okay.
leave that as one, we'll cross the bridge when we get to it. Is that okay with you, Donna?
That work?
Derek, is that okay with you?
Yes, sir.
All right.
I'd also like, and this is a completely different subject, and I don't know if this is the time to bring it up or if you'd rather wait until another part of the discussion.
What's that?
I have once again been contacted by William King. I think some other council members have been too. I know that we originally talked about 100. Other people wanted 25. We compromised, which I think is an important word, at 50.
Yeah.
I think that if in January we have extra money and they still need our money, then we should also reconsider that. They've reached out. I think they're in need. They're an important resource in our town, and I just want to go on record that I am in favor of giving them the money that we were approached for in the first place, but that I understand that not all council members are, and so that we've compromised. But that might be something we revisit in January.
Okay.
I agree. I would
I-
like to
yeah.
revisit that in January
Yeah.
when we see where we are with revenues.
I think
et cetera.
that's a great.
Sounds good.
Donna,
Yeah, I
is that
mean,
okay with you as well,
Yeah.
too?
It is, yeah.
yeah, like I mentioned last night, was our revenues have been very, very solid. Yeah, way exceeding what I was expecting, given the dynamics of what's happened in the region. We are really still doing exceedingly well. So I think in 6 months we'll be in a much better position. So then we could be able to go back and take care of the stuff.
And I think that's a very prudent way to handle it. I mean, that's how you would handle it in your
Yeah.
household.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have the money to, repaint our kitchen right now, but maybe, in January we will. And so I think that's a really smart way to handle our finances.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think we are in great shape, but we're going to continue to be in great shape. But I also don't want to, given what was going on, if you had asked me in November where we'd be, I don't know that I'd say our numbers would be as solid as they are, but they continue to be solid and exceed expectations. And part of that's just about a matter. There's so many different things that add up to what makes people want to come here.
Yeah.
Like I said, my goal is to make them feel bad about where they live, though.
Yeah.
So,
Anyone have any other questions or anything they want to, from Mike or Steve?
Not me.
Ma'am.
No, I'm good.
Derek, do you have any questions for Mike or Steve?
Not at the moment.
Okay, well, I guess the question is, would someone like to go ahead and make a motion that we go ahead and approve the agenda for the budget for July the 1st, 2000, yes, sir?
Oh, excuse me, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I
For
apologize.
beginning July the 1st, 2025, and ending June the 30th, 2026.
Mr. Bell, are we going to consider an ordinance for the budget separate from the appropriations resolution?
As
You're going to do them together?
Yes, sir. As it's been drafted, just historically, those are all together, including the tax rates too. That's just
Okay.
the form, as always.
I'll make a motion to accept the ordinance.
I'd second that.
Any further discussion?
I would like to open the discussion in terms of the approval of that. Last year on June the 20th, 2024, we approved the 2024-2025 budget and appropriations resolution. And at that meeting, myself and Councilwoman Donna Quest both voiced their concerns, and I attached a copy of what those concerns were to the minutes at that time. My primary concern, and still is my primary concern, is the trajectory for salaries in specific departments, including but not limited to proposed step increases, scheduled overtime that we have in regular overtime. We have discussed in previous meetings that we are in this budget breaking out scheduled overtime from overtime, but we're still showing on scheduled overtime $186,000 in additional wages, which according to the information provided to me is an 81% increase. And then in overtime, we're budgeting $172,000, which is a 19% increase over that period of time. So put those together, and we're talking about 100% proposed increases in those. Last year, the budget resulted in some employees receiving salary increases of up to 40% in a 2-year period of time, and that upward trajectory continues in this particular budget. I stated last year on June the 20th that I was concerned that if we continued on that trajectory, that it would result in the need to increase taxes and fees. That concern became a stark reality to me when I saw the first draft version of the 2025-2026 budget, which was published without the input of council for that, and it proposed what would have amounted to a substantial tax increase for the people of the town of Abingdon. Due to the hard work of the members of the council and town administration, the adopted tax rate will result in an actual decrease in the overall taxes. However, that demonstrated to me the real concern that I voiced almost a year ago. Now, many of the residents of the town can afford additional taxation, but many in our town are on fixed incomes, and any increase presents a very strong hardship for them. Additionally, I don't believe that the current budget is fair to other town employees who work diligently and deserve the same consideration but receive only a cost of living increase. I'll repeat myself from June of 2024. We're fortunate in many respects in Abingdon, but if we are not careful and good stewards of our finances, we will be in the same boat as many other localities in our area and need additional revenue. And the only source of additional revenue would be increase in taxes and other fees. And for those reasons, when it comes time to vote on this particular ordinance and resolution, I feel compelled to vote no as I did last year.
I would like to take a moment to share my thoughts on why I cannot support this budget. First and foremost, though, I want to express my gratitude for the opportunity to serve the people of Abingdon and to be a part of this amazing community. However, I have several reasons that lead me to oppose this budget proposal, and I believe it is important to share them in the spirit of being transparent. Last year, I found myself in the same position, and my reasoning remains unchanged. I believe the proposal presented is fundamentally unsustainable. The budget we are being asked to adopt this year includes increases that I fear could eventually lead us into a precarious financial situation where we may be forced to raise taxes or make layoffs. I encourage anyone interested in these matters to reach out to the town manager to request this information for their own review. I also urge you to inquire specifically about personnel costs, particularly the total cost associated with each employee. This year, the cost associated with overtime has surged over 80%, inching to an eye-popping figure of $400,000. It's worth noting that we currently maintain almost a fully staffed payroll, which should ideally prevent excessive overtime. Additionally, over the last 3 years, our total personnel costs have increased by 40%. The budget data reflects that at the end of 2022, before starting in 2023, we were hovering at around 6.5 million. And that amount now has escalated to approximately 10 million. Some individual salary raises outlined during this period are as high as $30,000. Another critical reason for my opposition relates to the principle of fairness. Feedback from some staff members indicates that they feel treated unfairly by being overlooked and unappreciated, as only select individuals are receiving raises, except for the exception of the cost of living increase. Additionally, a new step increase that will start in this next budget cycle for one department will be exclusive to that same department year after year, which is unfair to other hardworking, long-tenure employees, some of whom have been with the town for over 30 years. Sustainability means being prepared for the future. We must avoid robbing Peter to pay Paul and should only tap into our reserves in true emergencies. While some may advocate for using reserves for expenditures and some for capital outlays, we must act responsibly and remain mindful that unexpected challenges and rainy days will arise. Ultimately, just being straightforward, it is revenues in matching expenditures going out. This approach will help handle economic ups and downs more smoothly and protect our financial future.
So as chair of the Finance Committee, I feel like that I need to respond in kind. First of all, when I say that I'd like to use reserves, I do not advocate for using the reserves that our financial partners have told us to put aside for a rainy day. I feel like it is of utmost importance to keep those rainy day funds for situations such as another pandemic or a downturn in economic times. My advocacy for using reserve funds is for excess money that we have managed to save from higher than expected revenues. I do not feel like if we have higher than expected revenues that we need to sock that money away for a rainy day. I feel like that two very important points need to be noted. First of all, our constituents have voted us into office to take care of the tax dollars that they are paying right now. If we put that money away, then it may be a future council that spends that money. And the constituents that I have spoken to are not comfortable with that. They have voted us into office to serve presently, and they want us to be the stewards of the tax dollars they've paid. So that's my first point. The second point is tax money is not paid in order for us to save it. Tax money is paid in order for us to do things like take care of our roads, take care of our public safety, take care of the splash pad, the meadows, other things, the Coombs Center. That's what taxpayers pay tax dollars for. So I do not advocate personally with my vote to spend reserve money that our financial advisors have told us to put away for a rainy day. I feel like that needs to be saved. But that money gains interest, and we have lots of money right now in excess, I think maybe $3 million in excess in general fund that taxpayers have paid to us or that people have paid in the forms of meals and lodging taxes that could be put to good use to keep our roads paved and to do those other things. That's the money I'm advocating spending in general fund, not the money that we have been put aside for rainy days. So I just wanted to make that point. Also, I wanted to make the point that with this budget, it is balanced with the exception of the grant matches, which is $270,000, which is really a small percentage of our budget, and it's capital projects, which is, I'm perfectly fine with us spending that out of reserves. But I would like to say that we have a balanced budget. We are not spending more than we are bringing in. In fact, we have $3 million extra dollars that we have brought in. And if it comes to a time that our expenses and our revenues do not match, we will have to cut back, because I am never, in a foreseeable circumstance, would I be willing to raise taxes. In fact, I was one of the people who said, whoa, 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 whoa. I don't want to do 23 cents per hundred. I want to do 19 cents per hundred because I don't want to increase the tax burdens on our constituents. So for that reason, I feel like when we came to Steve and we came to the rest of our financial team and we asked them to balance the budget, they did a good job. I feel like we've had to make some sacrifices. I feel like we've had to make some important decisions. I don't feel like we're ever going to be able to pay our employees what they're worth. I feel like that every single town employee is worth an unlimited salary, but we can't do that. So I feel like that we have come to a really good compromise, and I think that's a key term. I feel like we've had lots of meetings and we've had lots of discussion, and that most of it has been very amicable and fair. And I feel like that we have everybody's given up some things that they wanted, and everybody has gotten some things that they've wanted. And so for that reason, I'm comfortable with voting yes for the budget.
Derek, do you have any further discussion?
Just real briefly, I'd like to mirror a couple of things that Amanda said, as well as pull some of what Wayne said into the mix. I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is the fourth rendition of the fiscal year 2026 budget. I think Wayne's the one that pointed that out. There's been a lot of back and forth and a lot of compromises, Amanda said. We're not at the same place we were when the original draft budget was presented to the council. And I do think that proves that the council has been very cautious, and we've tried to be very wise with how we spend those tax dollars. I'd also like to point out that I share the sentiment that Amanda has with reserves. I'm not a fan of keeping an overly abundant amount of money in the coffers. Obviously, we have to keep a certain level. That's just prudent financial practice. And we even have documents that actually policy that complements what we're supposed to keep in reserves. I'd also take it a little bit further. If I'm not mistaken, the state of Virginia as a whole has certain restrictions on the amount of tax dollars they can keep in the coffers as well. So I think we've done a lot of back and forth. I think we've had a lot of great discussion. And as Amanda said, it's difficult to please everybody, but I do feel like we've got what we asked for, which was a balanced budget. I'd like to compliment all the staff that worked on it. I know it's a very long, tedious, and difficult process, but all those things being said, we're in a very different place than we were with the first draft budget. And I really appreciate all the hard work that's gone into it, and I, for one, will vote yes on this budget.
Any further discussion from anyone?
No, sir.
All right. Well, we do have a motion, and we have that second. No further discussion. I think that we'll roll with what we have presented in front of us, if that's okay. Kim, if you'll please call roll.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
No.
Ms. Pillion?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Austin?
No.
And Mayor Anderson?
Aye.
Madam Clerk, I'm going to pass down to you some of the comments that I made during the discussion. I'd like those attached to the minutes when they're presented, please. Thank
I would
you.
also like mine attached too. I didn't sign it though, should I have signed it?
Sure. And if I can just add real briefly, when we met in January, we went over the equalization rate, and the equalization rate was meant to keep pace with inflation. That's what that first draft was built on. And then subsequent to that, we adjusted it down to the 19. But it was based on that feedback from trying to keep pace with inflation. But when we looked at it, it's just, we made it work with where we're at, and that's where we're at. I think all in all, it's a decent budget, and I think our revenues, while salary and other expenses for employees have gone up, our retention rate has gone up significantly, and employee satisfaction across the board seems to be on a much higher level. And the service level that employees provide, from Public Works to everybody else, they really get after it and make it happen. And some of those things, they do cost money, but we've also added several things across between services and things that we do. We've added those that were not included previously, and so they do also increase the cost. But that said, I mean, I think it's a good budget, and I think Abington's an awesome place, and I think we're going to continue to see the increases because people come here and they just want to come back, and I hope they're hungry when they come too. Because
We have lots of good places to eat.
we absolutely do. So, but thank you.
And then I'd also like to note that, those of us who didn't have written remarks, if people are interested in revisiting them, our videos from our council meetings are always available on YouTube, and so you can go back and see how this process, if you have questions, all of these meetings have been public, they've all been recorded. people can go back and watch and see.
Not on.
Not all of them.
Some
Okay.
of the budget meetings were not,
Okay,
but there is
okay,
minutes.
okay. So there are minutes for all of it, yes.
Yeah.
And I'd like to just say thank you to the council for all the hard work that everybody's put into the budget. Mike Cochran, Steve, everyone that works for the town. Like I said, I know this has been a rigorous couple of months, and, I just think that everyone has put their heads together, and we've come up with a clear budget that I think is going to work for the future year of 2025 to 2026.
Well, as I said at the last meeting, if we didn't have difference of opinion,
Yeah, that's
we'd
right.
only need one person.
That's
up here.
exactly right.
And it's healthy, I think, for us to be able to discuss it and to be able to discuss it in a free and fair manner, and I appreciate everyone having done that.
Yes.
And we'll move forward together.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Donna, do you have any further remarks? Amanda?
No.
Derek, do you have any further remarks?
Sorry I couldn't be there. Thank you all for all your contributions.
Thank you,
Travel
Derek.
safely.
With that being said, we'll call this meeting adjourned.
Thank you.